Finally here. The big game is just days away, and SportsGrid is live from New Orleans all week long, bringing you the latest news, insights, and analysis from the biggest names in the game. And on game day, we've got you covered all day long with expert picks, live odds, and everything you need to make the most out of the biggest game of the year. Don't miss a second, and it's all happening only on SportsGrid.
Even the great Nick Saban had to put his team together to do it his way. We know Coach Ryan's coming in to come run the offense, who was his right-hand man, a good friend of his at UW. And, now he's coming in. Everything is going the way we want this thing to be. Coach DeBoer is a great recruiter. He's a great father of players. He's a great leader of men. He's going to do great.
Only on SportsGrid.
It's the greatest show ever. It's funny, and you know what I like? You have balls. I mean, the stuff you do on that show, you are half crazy.
I feel like a good sense of humor, and I like to show it off. And this kind of originally started where people were, the hot dog eating challenge was something that I always wanted to do, and every 4th of July, and I was like, I could eat a ton of hot dogs.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, and it is a little bittersweet here on this Friday because, let's keep it real, it's the final football Friday until August of this year. Super Bowl is coming up Sunday. We'll have plenty of preview to go around here on the show as well. We'll also preview, of course, the game. Matt Lutovsky will join us on the show. Sam McQuillan will join us from Legal Sports Report. We'll dive into all of the different angles in the game, as the game is now a little bit over about 55 or so hours away on Sunday. We got full coverage, of course, coming up on Sunday morning as well. We'll tell you about that a little bit later in the show. But the point spread remains the same. It's like the most boring point spread in the history of the Super Bowl. This has not changed since it's come out. Like, nowhere. Everyone's like, oh, it's going to go up. It's going to go down. It has been exactly the same throughout. Chiefs still 1.5 point favorites, and the total is just stuck on that number of 48.5. I guess that's the number that opened up a little bit higher, that has come down slightly, but we'll see if it climbs back up come Super Bowl Sunday as well. So, naturally, full preview here on the show. We begin with the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, who are going for that three-peat, and aggressiveness has been the name of the game, not just for the Chiefs, but for the Eagles as well. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Reid touching on just how aggressive the Chiefs will get.
Philly stays aggressive on their 4th downs. And they've got a good offense. So I think on the other side of that, you do the same. You'd stay aggressive within reason on 4th downs. We've done that throughout the season, but that really ups itself when you're playing against a good team that likewise doesn't.
Yeah, I think more than anything, you just try to find a way to finish the game. It's the biggest game of the year for a reason, and you got to put your body on the line. So more important than playing through injuries, just playing for your teammates and finding ways to win.
Absolutely, because we know when Spags is organizing defenses, we're competing against the best, and if we can do things to have success against them in training camp and when we're practicing against each other, we know that it'll work against other teams that we play. They have so much fun. Like, they try things a lot. Like, they experiment and see. I think that's why Coach Reid is so creative, and every once in a while you see a play you've never seen before. Like, all through training camp, they're playing around with formations, routes, and just seeing what can work. So I think that creativity is fun for the guys. It keeps it engaging. And then every once in a while, you actually find a good play out of it.
And the big question is whether or not the Eagles will be able to take anything away from the last time these two teams played in the Super Bowl. All that not that long ago. Truth be told, Nick Sirianni says a lot has changed since then, but certainly they're watching that film to see if they can pick up anything.
And, every game's a little bit different. There's different factors that go into how you play the game. The flow of the game plays into it. There's so many things that play into it as far as your decision making in game. And so everything will be accounted for, just like as far as the overtime, and just like we do each and every week. Everything's accounted for. Who you're playing against, who you're playing against offensively, who you're playing against defensively. The plays that you have, the players that you have. The analytic charts, all those different things play into it. And we'll see how the game unfolds.
Yeah, I've always said that every team is different, and I think personally and individually for all the guys on the team, every year requires a different version of that player. And for us, we've got a ton of different players on our team. We've got a lot of young players starring and playing pivotal roles and everything. And so you just have to navigate that and find your way as a team for that year. And so we've been able to play disciplined ball. We've been able to play ball and be on the same page and find ways to win. And we're just looking forward to doing that one more time.
All right, can we get to Sunday already? Kind of want this thing to get started and watch the game. All right, Ippei Mitsuhara, you may remember his name as we shift over to some sports betting news. Mitsuhara is the former translator for Shohei Ohtani that was accused and now convicted of stealing $17 million from Ohtani. Well, he was sentenced yesterday to 57 months in prison beginning on March 24th. Mitsuhara asked for 8 months, which is just over a year and a half. It is a federal case, so with good behavior, some of this could go away, but simply put, Mitsuhara is going to spend years in jail and have to pay somehow Ohtani back $17 million. Good luck with that. All right, at the owners' meetings wrapping up yesterday, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, was asked by the media about the Los Angeles Dodgers and their spending and their money deferrals, and Manfred said yesterday that he does not think that the Dodgers are bad for baseball. Said, I don't agree with that. The Dodgers are a really well-run, successful organization. Everything they do is done and has been consistent with the rules that have been made. Also, Manfred asked about umpire Pat Hoberg, who was terminated because he had a sports betting account that was not used by him, but by somebody that he knew. And Manfred said that we have much greater ability to monitor what's going on than we did when sports betting was in back rooms and illegal. It's always a threat. We spend a lot of time and money, get a lot more information, and just have access to a lot more information now that it is legal with the sports betting partnerships that Major League Baseball has had. So simply put, they could use that money to make sure that responsible gaming is intact. Last night, Luka Doncic did not play, expected to play tomorrow. Jimmy Butler did not play for the Warriors, expected to play on Monday. The Lakers beat the Warriors, final 120-112. LeBron James's numbers were like they were 20 years ago. 42 points, 17 rebounds, and 8 assists. And the Lakers have won 10 games out of 12. LeBron is now the second 40-year-old ever to score 40 points in a game. I don't think I need to ask you who the other one was, because naturally you may remember that Michael Jordan scored 40 points as a member of the Washington Wizards. LeBron was asked about another piece of history last night.
What do I think? I'm old. That's what I think. I need a glass of wine. That's my first thing I think.
Joining MJ as the only 2040 plus player.
The biggest thing is that we got the win, obviously. But like throughout my journey, anytime I've been named or in category or whatever the case, cross paths with any of the greats is always humbling. Just to know where I come from. I love the game so much, so it's pretty cool.
Should be a fun game to see Luka make his debut with the Lakers tomorrow night. Meanwhile, the NFL Honors Show was yesterday. It's when they give out all the awards for the MVP, Comeback Player of the Year, etc. So let's go through them. Not a huge surprise here. Josh Allen got 27 first-place votes. He wins the MVP. Lamar Jackson got 23 votes, so it was very, very close. But inevitably, Allen takes home the Most Valuable Player award. Jaden Daniels was the AP Offensive Rookie of the Year. Kevin O'Connell, the Coach of the Year, and Joe Burrow earns the Comeback Player of the Year as well. Also, the announcement officially made yesterday, new members into the Hall of Fame, Eric Allen, Jared Allen, and a player at wide receiver now joins his brother, Sterling Sharp, named to the Hall of Fame as well. He joined Shannon Sharp, who was already in there as well. All right, in coaching news, looks like Deion Sanders is going to stay in college, at least for the time being. He says that he could not coach pro ball because of the way that they practice, the way they go about it. Says he couldn't take it. The game is still providing for me. There's no way I can allow that to happen on my watch. Needless to say, he's more of a college coach than a pro. We'll see. Panthers' Adam Thielen says he's going to play after mulling retirement. He was hurt for the majority of the year, but he did end up with 615 yards and 5 touchdowns. And Virginia McClaskey, the Chicago Bears owner, passed away at the age of 102. Wow. All right. Rest in peace, Virginia McClaskey. In the NBA yesterday, it was a quiet trade deadline, but the one player we expected to get moved did get moved. DeAndre Hunter goes from Atlanta to Cleveland. Karis LeVert and 3 second-round picks and 2 swaps. Hunter averaging 19 points a game. He'll help Cleveland make a playoff run. The Clippers acquired Bogdan Bogdanovic from the Hawks for Terrence Mann and Bones Highland. And the Suns traded Yusef Nurkic to the Hornets for Cody Martin. Those are among some of the trades that were made, some smaller ones yesterday. Also, Nikola Jokic had a triple-double again, 28 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists. The Nuggets beat the Magic 112-90. Klay Thompson, 25 points. What a big win for the Dallas Mavericks as they go to Boston, and they win 127-120. We'll be right back with Matt Lutovsky from Sporting News next.
Even the great Nick Saban had to put his team together to do it his way. We know Coach Ryan's coming in to come run the offense, who was his right-hand man, a good friend of his at UW. And, now he's coming in. Everything is going the way we want this thing to be. Coach DeBoer is a great recruiter. He's a great father of players. He's a great leader of men. He's going to do great.
Only on SportsGrid.
But don't tell anybody. I'm sick of coming here every year and talking about the Kansas City Chiefs.
Look, remember a few years ago we were here, people saying, Andy Reid's going to retire. I'm like, no way. When you're riding Seabiscuit, Secretariat, when you're riding a horse that you know can win, who would jump off that?
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
My mom, she was a professional ballet dancer. My aunt played professional tennis. My dad played football at Pitt when they won a national championship. My sister ran track at Stanford. So it's just kind of in my blood to love all sports. And so I've always obviously loved golf, but it's been nice to kind of branch out a little bit more and get into different sports and different topics and not just always do golf.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Matt Lutovsky from Sporting News is with us here today, and he is all ready for the big game on Sunday, as we are too, Matt. And thanks again for coming on the show here. I mean, all the talk has got to be put to rest pretty soon here. We're on the precipice of the game here. The point spread is what it is. It has not changed. The Chiefs are still favorites, total 48.5. I'm sure you had to make your prediction among the writers over at Sporting News. What did you make your prediction for the game on Sunday?
Yeah, I made my prediction for the Chiefs to win, for the game to barely go under, and the Chiefs to barely cover. So right on the line. Turns out Vegas is pretty good at this thing, setting these lines and setting these numbers. But that's my ultimate prediction. Obviously, like most people, I can see this game going either way. I look at it too, like a lot of people have, that the Eagles have the better team on paper, but the Chiefs are just the better team, and the team we know can find a way to win these games and just seems to have a knack for winning these games. I don't think almost any outcome would surprise me for this game. I think a Chiefs blowout win would surprise me. But other than that, I can see this game going a lot of different ways. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. You know, I think the question would be, and it's one that we really could talk about more next week if it ends up happening, but I guess getting ahead of it is, if that is correct, Matt, and the Chiefs win, where this sort of puts them in the history of the National Football League. We've seen these dynasties, and that's the word that's going to be used now if this happens. The Patriots, of course, had one, the Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers, Pittsburgh Steelers, going back to the 70s as well. Do you think the Chiefs end up getting in that conversation with three? I mean, no one's ever done it before. I guess you have to consider that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you win 3 and you win 4 in this short amount of time, there's no question you're going to be mentioned among the best. And I think we all can see, too, that how the NFL has changed, how tough it is to build a consistent winner, that people are going to look at the Chiefs and just really be amazed at what they've done over these past handful of seasons.
All right, so Saquon Barkley, he needs 29 yards to tie Terrell Davis for the most yards ever in a season, including the playoffs. I assume he gets that, but how do you feel about some of his props as well?
Yeah, I'd be shocked if he didn't get that, obviously. Like most people, I think it's going to be a big Saquon game. The Eagles are going to have to lean on him to win, which I think we know they will. They've shown us they will, and I think we're going to continue to see that going. So I kind of like most of his overs, especially for, his rushing yards and his total yards. They're getting up there, but I certainly think he's talented enough to pull that off, and that's what we've seen throughout these entire playoffs.
All right, now let's take a look at Patrick Mahomes and some of his props as well. This is his 5th time in the Super Bowl. Needless to say, 249.5 passing yards has been bet up. This thing was at 244, 245. The juice minus 110 on both sides. Over 1.5 passing touchdowns, you got to lay minus 150 for that. 24.5 rushing yards. This number has also come up throughout the playoffs. And an anytime touchdown, 4-1 for Mahomes. So do you see Mahomes doing it with his arm, with his legs, or both? Or neither?
Yeah, I think the answer there is always with Mahomes is both. I think we saw a preview of what we're going to see in the AFC title game, and that's by any means necessary, and that's running him as they need to. That's running him on, key 3rd and 4th downs. We know he's such a good scrambler. He's so effective. He's so elusive. So I like that rushing yard prop. It's not easy, obviously, but I think he can get that. I think the passing yard prop might be a little bit tougher. I do expect, like I said, I think the under is going to hit, so I expect a little more ball control from the Chiefs, and that could sort of slow down the passing game. We kind of saw that with Mahomes in their last playoff game. The anytime touchdown's pretty tough. That's not one I'd maybe take a chance on, but the odds are in your favor. So if you want to take a little chance for a bigger payoff, I think that's a fun one. Passing touchdowns, for him to hit 2, I think he can do that, even if he isn't passing for high yardage. So yeah, that's kind of the way I see Mahomes. I think he's one of those guys who's fun to bet on because you can expect anything going into the game. So I think we're going to have a good one with him.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts is a little bit more mysterious because some people feel like he's not 100%, although you couldn't tell last week against Washington, 2 weeks ago against Washington. 211 passing yards is his number. 1.5 passing yards. If he hits that, wow, plus 176 there, but we know you get near the goal line. Hurts usually runs it in. 36.5 rushing yards. I've seen a lot of people on the under on that one, and certainly anytime touchdown is a pretty big minus, and 2 touchdowns is a pretty big plus.
Yeah, I think, the rushing yards, it really goes either way with him because we think of him as this very mobile quarterback who can hit these big runs, and he certainly can, but that's not necessarily a consistent part of their offense at this point. He'll take them if they're there. And, like you said, the anytime touchdown, we know what he does with the tush push. You almost feel like it's automatic at this point, like he's getting 1, but betting on 2 is very difficult. So, I kind of look at him to have a very good game. I think the passing yards might surprise a little bit. That element of their game hasn't quite been there through this playoffs, but we saw it get a little bit, resuscitated in their last game. And I think that they can have a pretty good game through the air like he did the first time these two teams played in the Super Bowl.
Now, the fun props are the ones that are guessing game props, honestly, Matt, but they are still available. Do you ever get involved in the coin toss here? I mean, this is, the juice is not bad here. I guess that they want to entice you to bet on it because it's just a total, as we would say, flip of the coin. Gatorade color, I don't think I've ever gotten this one right. Like, I've guessed this on media shows for decades. I think I'm wrong like every single time on this one.
Yeah, I mean, there's no science. You can look at the past stats. Well, I think Heads has hit in 3 of the 4 last Super Bowls, but Tails has hit more often in the Super Bowl. It's 50-50. It is what it is. It's going to go one way. I know, there used to be a thought that the special coins they make for these games, the Tails side's a little heavier, and that's why Tails is hitting. I really don't know. I don't think anyone does. They say Tails never fails. Why not? Take Tails, it's due, right? As much as any 50-50 proposition can be due.
Right.
The Gatorade color is a little more interesting. I think you see the one there, the lime and the green, yellow. Hey, you're getting options with that one. So I think that might be the best one. But it's another one where you look back and you want to try to apply logic, like, oh, the Chiefs will do red because they wear red. Well, there's no evidence that that's ever been the case in Super Bowl history. So everyone's guessing, everyone's having fun.
It is definitely the case. All right. Let's see what happens Sunday, Matt. We'll bring it back next week and talk about it. Thanks again for coming on.
I appreciate it. Can't wait. Thank you.
All right, Andrew DiCecco is joining us next. We'll preview what the Eagles will look like on Super Bowl Sunday, that and a whole lot more. Stick with us here on SportsGrid. You're watching NewsWire. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
Obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait till you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Andrew DiCecco is all ready for the Super Bowl in New Orleans, writing over at InsideTheBirds.com, and of course broadcasting for The Fan in Philadelphia. And Andrew, we finally are getting here. It's like, I mean, honestly, how much more? I mean, I know that you still have content, but how much more can we say about this game that has not been said? I know that you're covering the Philadelphia Eagles angle of it. What is your thoughts as we get closer to the game?
Yeah, well, being on the Eagles beat all season long, it's been an interesting ride. But you're right. There's such a buildup for this game that it's like can't wait for it to get here because there's always so many different ways you can dissect it. But this is going to be a really, really good game that I expect to come down to the wire.
So let's just take a look at the point spread and start there. So the Eagles are underdogs. We're hearing a lot of support for the Eagles, but the point spread, Andrew, has not changed at all. It's still sitting at +1.5, and the total is 48.5. Just strictly from a game flow perspective, what do you expect to happen in this one?
Well, Craig, I'm not actually surprised to see the point spread the way that it is. The Kansas City Chiefs have been there before. They know what to expect. The moment's not going to be too big for them. But I am expecting the Philadelphia Eagles to come out confident and poised. They've been that way all week during their media availability. They have a number of players, including Lane Johnson, including Jordan Mailata, Jalen Hurts, that have been at this stage before. They know what to do. And I think they've learned a few things since the last time. So I'm expecting them to come out, and they're playing their best football right now. So I think they're going to come out swinging and get some early points.
Yeah, a lot of points, by the way. The last two times these teams faced off in the Super Bowl went way over the total. 73 points, I believe. 38-35 was the final.
That's right.
But it was a different game, though, the last time these two teams played. I mean, Hurts was an MVP candidate at the time, throwing consistently between 250 and 300 and running the ball all the time. He had 4 touchdowns in that game. A.J. Brown had a big game, so did Devonta Smith. But this time around, it feels like, yes, that's still a factor for the Eagles. But the reason why they're here, Andrew, I don't know if you agree, maybe you'll tell me no, but it feels like they're here because of the additions of Saquon Barkley and their defense with Vic Fangio. To me, that's more of what the reason I think they've gotten here. There were times over the season where I would watch the Eagles play and wonder if they woke up in the first half of games and they were just sleeping. It seemed like it took them a half every single game to get going.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because this Eagles team prides themselves on being able to win in a multitude of ways. Much has been made this season of Jalen Hurts and what he can or can't do. Is he a game manager? Are the Eagles winning in spite of Jalen Hurts? Well, Jalen Hurts himself has put a lot of his personal stats on the back burner for the greater good. The Eagles have implemented a run-first approach. They're leaning on their offensive line, led by Lane Johnson, led by Jordan Mailata, and trying to impose their will at the line of scrimmage and wear teams down. And, of course, Saquon Barkley is that player who has been the driving force of their offense. He might get 3 or 4 yards at a time, Craig, but eventually the dam will break and he'll get that 40 or 50-yard run. So the Eagles, it might not look traditional from a quarterback perspective, but they find ways to win. And this is a game I'm expecting Jalen Hurts, who tends to rise to the occasion when the stakes are highest, to really deliver here.
Yeah, and you can read, by the way, a lot of great content on the Eagles going into the game at InsideTheBirds.com. And Andrew posted an article over the last 24, 48 hours, more about the new coaching staff, some of the rookies, Darius Slay. And I think you illustrated it best, and we could read more about it, certainly, Andrew, but, it's just not the same Eagles team that it was the last time around. Yes, the quarterback is the same. Yes, the receivers are the same. And yes, of course, Lane Johnson, pivotal piece of that team. But it's going to be a different look team. And by the way, Sirianni seems to have a different approach this year as well.
I was so glad that you mentioned that because I think there's a misconception widespread about Nick Sirianni. He is a coach that now in his 4th season, he's turned a corner in my estimation. He's become a lot more confident. He's unapologetically himself, but he's also grown and matured. He's more composed. He knows how to answer questions a little bit more. But this Eagles team, they follow his lead. And it goes beyond his winning and all those statistics that he has. It's his ability to be receptive to feedback from players when they want to go run first. It's his ability to connect with all 53 players and find ways to do that, the emotional intelligence. That piece isn't often talked about a lot when you look at a head coach, but all 53 players want to win this one for themselves, of course, but for Nick Sirianni as well. That's a collective buy-in from that team, and they're really confident right now.
Well, Andrew, this is going to be a fun weekend, I know, for you. I think from a media perspective, having done a number of these through the years, I think you finally get a break tomorrow. And then, of course, Sunday is the big game. You'll get there early and leave late, and that's just the way it works at the Super Bowl. Thanks again for coming on.
I appreciate you having me. Thanks.
All right, Andrew DiCecco. Check out his work, InsideTheBirds.com. Coming up next, Sam McQuillan joins us. Boy, this options of sports betting or sports contracts at Robinhood came and went pretty quickly. What happened? Tell us next.
best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
You know, obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait till you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's bring in Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. He, like everybody else, will be watching the Super Bowl. Now, one of the big sports betting stories of the week actually came and went very quickly as Robinhood, no stranger to any controversy, Sam, over the last few years, is back in another controversy as well. They open up this Super Bowl contract trading, sports contract trading, I think in a way similar to the Crypto.com app. Robinhood opens it up, Kalshi's involved, and then 24 hours later, it's gone. What happened?
Yeah, just a week before the Super Bowl, Robinhood, the market that a lot of people trade stocks on casually, they said they were going to roll out this Super Bowl event contract trading market, which is basically just kind of a dressed up way of offering sports betting. Functionally, it would be you're trading contracts on which team is going to win, what events are going to happen correctly. Which, if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, then you get paid out. If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, then you get paid out if you pick them. So it functioned very similar to sports betting, but for their purposes, they packaged it differently. And we'll talk about that in a sec, but they were going to roll out this product in partnership with Kalshi, which is the election event contract trading platform, allowing their users in all 50 states to essentially bet on the Super Bowl, for lack of a better word. Obviously, sports betting is only legal in 38 states, only live in 37. So when they said they're going to roll this out, the CFTC, which governs, trading futures, trading commodities, they said, hey, can you relax for a second and let us figure all this out? The Super Bowl's in a week. All of you trading platforms are now trying to do this sports thing, and you're doing it very quickly. There wasn't the preparation of a FanDuel or DraftKings going into a state, getting licensed, taking sometimes up to 2 years to launch it. They just said, we're going to go ahead and offer it. So they had about 1% of their users engage with it so far. They came out and said, you know what, we will halt it to kind of make good with the CFTC. So anybody who had traded on the platform, you can either hold your position or get your money back. It's kind of essentially cashing out or letting it ride. But this is sort of the latest development in the space. You mentioned Crypto.com offering a very similar product. The CFTC had asked Crypto.com to pause theirs as well. They have not so far, as I understand it. So you have some platforms kind of defying the ask, some not. And obviously no stranger to controversy in this space. When you talk about this, this kind of industry that's emerged so quickly, a lot faster than regulators are able to keep up with. A lot of the politicians making the laws don't even know what cryptocurrency is, don't know what event contract trading is. So it's just going to continue to develop into the kind of this new space, especially around major marquee events. And then you have federal agencies trying to play catch up here. Kalshi was partnered with them on this. Obviously, they have the whole election betting that happened. The CFTC had tried to pause that as well. It ended up ruling in Kalshi's favor. one of the federal courts. So it could be a similar case here. It could be opening up a can of worms, but for now it's paused, and they'll probably resume right after the Super Bowl, see kind of where everyone's at with this.
Yeah, and again, trying to get it going for this big game made a lot of sense. I guess the question is, do they take a step back now, pump it back out in March? Do they wait till next football season? We'll see. All right, speaking of sports betting, the numbers are going to be the biggest they ever have been. Sam, we can do this show next year at this time, and we'll be saying the same thing. As long as sports betting is legal in the United States, there are more bets available, more props available, more options available. So I guess when we come back next week, we will say this is the most bet Super Bowl of all time. Will we not?
Yeah, this is it's shaping up to be a sure bet that every year it's the most bet Super Bowl of all time. This is projecting to be the 7th year straight with record Super Bowl betting. Obviously, legal sports betting has grown every year since 2018 or 2015 when the Supreme Court allowed states to kind of make the decision whether they would legalize gambling or not. You now have 38 states with it legal, so this year we're expecting upwards of $15 billion all bet on the big game. That would be a 15% increase from last year, which was, again, the most ever. And last year also set a record in Nevada, which is where the Super Bowl was played, with 186 million bet here. LSR this year is projecting this will be the first year on record that Nevada is not the leading state in Super Bowl sports betting. This year, it's looking like it'll be New York. We're projecting 192 million bet there. Obviously, one of the largest sports betting markets. New Jersey will be up in there, and notably Florida as well. This will be the first year they have available legalized sports betting, even though there's only one game in town with more limited options than other apps. People in a huge state are going to bet, and the Super Bowl is a huge opportunity for these sports books to get those casual bettors in. It's the biggest day of the year for sports books, usually makes up about 1% of the total betting they take in an entire year. And if you just take that one day out of 365, it's a pretty big feat. They stand to win about 9 figures, but a lot of that has always depended on the outcome of the game. But this year, like last year, that's becoming less and less important. Last year, if you remember right, the public cleaned up on the favorite winning, on the over hitting, money line, all these bets. But the sportsbooks actually had a really good day because of the popularity of these player props and same game parlays. And it's shaping up to be the same this year. It looks like they've really taken kind of the data from last year and said, okay, how do we now package it this year in a way that really positions us to get ahead? So you have things like Caesars is saying Saquon Barkley to score a touchdown has more bets on it than the money line and the spread for both teams combined, which is just crazy. I know he's a touchdown machine, but if there's more popularity just on this one specific market for that player, that really says a lot. And at this sports betting tracking app Pickett, they're saying that 66% of all bets tracked so far are on player props as opposed to traditional straight up wagers. So you're seeing all the action is really all player dependent, and it's a good thing for the league that wants to be more player focused, more like the NBA where player props are popular as well. So I'd expect more of the story this year to be about who scored a touchdown, who didn't score a touchdown, who went over their passing yards or receiving yards versus who actually won the outcome of the game is becoming less and less important.
Yeah, and especially in a game like this where the point spread is so close. It's just really hard to pick a winner, easier to navigate through some of the props. Okay, article up at LegalSportsReport.com about Georgia. I saw Pat post this a couple of days ago. Is there a chance we make some progress here on Georgia this year? I mean, we're running out of time in Q1 to get something on the ballot, aren't we?
Yeah, we definitely are. There's definitely a chance we make progress in Georgia, but you have to talk about that from the lens of what is progress and, what is actually real, like what is just kind of out there as a messaging thing. You have these 4 Georgia senators introduced a bill this week that would amend the state constitution to legalize sports betting in Georgia, but amending the constitution isn't easy. It requires 2/3 majority vote to get done, which has basically been the obstacle in Georgia over the past decade, preventing it from getting done. Because there's opposition on both sides of the aisle, it's hard to get bipartisan support to pass an issue like this. But the hurdle becomes even more difficult when there's a difference in not just whether we should legalize sports betting, it's a difference in how it actually works. A lot of prominent politicians down there believe you need to amend the Constitution to do it. Others believe you don't need to. So there's disagreement on even how to do it. The governor has kind of remained neutral on this issue. And a lot of politicians have come out recently citing studies saying they owe it to Georgia, they owe it to a lot of the people who helped swing the state for President Trump. So it's becoming more of a politicized issue in Georgia, and we're seeing progress in that term, in that sense, where it's becoming part of that lens. But it's still a web of how do we get everyone on board. It's a very Republican-heavy state, so if you have some that are in favor, some that aren't, it's hard for them all to break away or get on the same page here. But it's definitely moving in the right direction. It's just how much is it moving is the question.
Yeah, that's always the question for new states legalizing sports betting. Sam, enjoy the game on Sunday. You got a pick you want to throw out real quick before you go?
Yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs. I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. I just won't do it.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Sam takes the Chiefs. A lot of people feel it's the other way. Some people feel it's Sam's way. Who really knows in the end? We'll find out on Sunday around 6 o'clock Eastern. Thanks again, Sam, for coming on the show. We'll catch up after the Super Bowl next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Craig.
All right, up next, Joe Pisapia is going to join us here on the show. He makes a visit with us ahead of our big show Sunday morning. Our final Fantasy Sports Today football show of the season is a supersized edition Sunday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. And Joe's going to give us some tips ahead of the big game next. Don't go away.
Best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
You know, obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait until you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire. Guess what? Coming up Sunday morning, you're going to catch me and George Kurtz and Joe Pisapia and Matt Stryker. We've got our supersized edition of Fantasy Sports Today. Normally, me and George on Saturdays and Joe and Matt on Sundays. In a life past, it was me and Joe on Sundays, and I don't even remember how many years he and I have been doing the show together. It feels like 20 different years of different shows, and we are reunited not only on this show, but Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. Joe, it's great to catch up with you again. How is life? Thanks for coming on.
Life is very good. I got a Super Bowl of my own that I'm coaching in for flag football, defending the winter championship there. We've got an undefeated team facing another undefeated team.
Wow.
It's going to be very exciting. I don't know if SportsGrid's got odds on it yet. Hopefully at some point, maybe later today, the books will start taking some money on it. We'll see. But things are good. And yeah, Matt Stryker and our 5-year anniversary we just passed on FST on Sundays together. And I think you and I are definitely into the we're just the old married couple by now, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
well past the decade
decades
now.
of time. Yeah, I mean, I at least 10 years. I think Joe and I maybe 15 years on the air doing different things. And so we're reunited on Sunday. Congrats, by the way, on the flag football, too. That's awesome. All right, so Chiefs and Eagles this Sunday. It is a point spread that has not moved very much. Total of 48.5. The Chiefs are barely favorites. Most people are probably just going to take money line one way or the other. Boy, this seems like such a tough game to call. Every Super Bowl in recent memories coming right down to the wire. One small mistake, one big play could really decide it. Gosh, I know we all have to make picks here at SportsGrid, but this is really hard to do.
It is. What makes it difficult is that the Eagles, I think, on paper, are the younger, more talented team, I think, roster-wise. But this is a different Eagles team in a lot of ways than the one that went to the Super Bowl in a couple years. So that, I think, in a way, also is going for them. But you could also look at the other flip side of that coin, too, is a lot of these guys haven't been to this sort of situation before. Now, I know it's got a lot of defensive players now from the old Georgia teams that understand the big spotlight, the big games, the big moments. That's fair. But I'm kind of where your last guest was too. To be the man, you got to beat the man. And I think another interesting stat, and I know we talked about it last Sunday, and we'll probably mention it again this Sunday, is every time we've had a rematch of coaches in the Super Bowl, the coach that won the first time won the second time too. And I think there's a mental side of this, which I think is really fascinating. I mean, it's Tom Coughlin against Belichick. It's Andy Reid against Shanahan twice. It's Marv Levy losing twice to Jimmy Johnson. It's really difficult, I think, once a team beats you at that level to turn that around. And that to me is like the stickiest stat of all the weird trends and all the bizarre stuff you see. I think the longer people have, the more they start to look at this Eagles team and they start to go, yeah, well, why not the Eagles? And I keep looking at the other side, more time I have going, how do you beat the Chiefs? Because it doesn't seem like anybody's got the right formula.
No, and it basically comes down to a possession in the end, and the Chiefs end up making a play and winning it. So if we were going to go to props, let's take a look at some of the ground props for some of the rushers. Jalen Hurts' total is 36.5. Of course, the last time these two teams played in the Super Bowl, he went off in every way. Saquon Barkley, a couple of weeks ago, his prop was in the 120 range. For the Super Bowl Sunday, it's about 108.5. Mahomes, 29.5. And then certainly if Kareem Hunt has a big game, the Chiefs are winning. We know that, but Isaiah Pacheco still lurks as a factor as well. Any of these pique your interest?
Well, look, with the Saquon one, I've seen that 112.5 in some other markets already, but he has gone over that number every single week except for week 15 and week 13. Now, week 13, that was against the Baltimore Ravens, one of the better rush defenses in the league, and week 15 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, also one of the best rush defenses. Now, the Chiefs were also up there, so let's take that into account. They fell off a little bit later towards the year in that regard. I think the Chiefs can still give up 100 yards to Saquon Barkley and win this football game. It's when you get Saquon having those 150 games that things get a little bit dicey. You got to stop that one big play. It's what killed the Commanders right out of the gate, I think, last week, is giving up that huge touchdown on the first play. That's a very back-breaking, mojo-swinging moment there. And I think if you are going to win this football game, it's about containing that moment. Saquon, he's going to eat, he's going to get his. The passing props for both of these quarterbacks, I think, are really pretty good and spot-on numbers. But the rushing, to me, especially with the Mahomes one, is the most intriguing, and I'll tell you why. You're getting pressure up the middle with Jalen Carter, right? You're also on both sides. You've got some really good young corners in Mitchell and DeJean, right? You've got Slay. You've got some real talent at cornerback. And you have a lot of mid-level wide receivers on the Chiefs. So these guys don't really separate. They don't get out of the gate real quick. Xavier Worthy's very quick, but he needs some time to get into that second level of the defense. When you have Jalen Carter coming at you, it's a little bit trickier. So the fact that those mid-level wide receivers don't really separate for me, I'm looking at Mahomes having a lot of opportunities to take that ball and run. He's going to be flush from the pocket quite a bit. You saw last week when that happens, he is more than comfortable. He's got almost 180 yards in the 4 Super Bowls that he's played in already. So Mahomes is no stranger to taking the ball and running with it. I also love Mahomes to score a touchdown too, plus 400 in one of those big moments there, because once again, you have good pressure up front from the Eagles. You've got well above average corner play. And at the same time, so what does that lean you? Well, it leaves you maybe some dump off passes, some quick passes to Travis Kelce, some to the running backs too. But also, I think Patrick Mahomes getting flush from the pocket, not having an open guy, not having time to find somebody to get open or let them get open. And that allows Mahomes, I think, to go over this prop.
Do you think one prop I wanted to ask you about as far as the anytime touchdown? You just heard Joey likes Mahomes 4-1 on those anytimes. Do you think that Barkley and Hurts should be flipped here as far as their odds? I see Hurts at minus 115 and Barkley minus 190, but sure as anything, if they're on the one, isn't it Hurts most times, often than not? This is just a strange one to me. The rest I agree with.
We've been puzzling about this all week on Betting Pros on every show we've done. Is we keep waiting for it to change somehow, and it hasn't. Why Jalen Hurts? I mean, you want to talk about Saquon Barkley? I heard your last guest also talk about that. It's the most bet prop. Why? You're getting a much better number on Jalen Hurts. I don't understand it. You've got the tush push, the brotherly shove. It's all there for you. The other one too is the rush of less than 1 yard. I mean, that's another prop too that typically is going to hit there, especially with the Philadelphia Eagles in play. So those are two easy ways, I think, to win a lot of money on this Super Bowl, where people are looking for a lot of other chalk. Yet Jalen Hurts is kind of sitting right there at nearly even money to score a touchdown. It's kind of absurd.
So are meatballs on the menu, Joe, for Sunday?
Well, because I'm cooking coach of the 12U kids, cooking over there. We got the pulled pork is going to have to be waiting for us when we get home. So my cousin's good enough to be making that. We're all going to come back from the game and chow down there. Chiefs 26, Eagles 24. Go ahead, Craig.
Oh, 20. Wow, 26, 24. Close game. All right, Joe, I will see you Sunday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. If I'm late, text me. Thanks. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
Obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait until you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Got some fun content to end with here on the show. I don't even know how we even honestly do this one. But the Super Bowl provided some good laughs in New Orleans, and I guess we're going to take advantage of one of those. Time now for some last licks. I really didn't know how we were going to do this story, but yeah, we're going to do it. Kevin Walsh, he's out of the Super Bowl. Kevin is one of our great hosts here at SportsGrid. We watch him all the time on all of our different shows. And they had a setup at the Super Bowl where basically there was a contest of 30 seconds where you were given a very small football and asked to throw it into a very small hole. Some of the targets were set up close and some of the targets were set up further away. And here is Kevin's performance at this exhibition.
Yeah, we got it here.
The sweater.
What do you think? How many's he getting? How many points?
I think what's the middle? 5?
Middle's 5. They get the 250s and the 100. The bounty challenge.
All right, I think he
Let's
gets
see here.
12 fits.
It's K-Dub.
No, man, he'll get
check
more
the
than
fit.
that.
Check the game.
5,000.
5,000?
I mean,
how many seconds you got though?
30. All right, realistic.
24 over under 2,500.
Over.
All right. Let's see. He's ready to roll.
Look at this. Like the Dak Prescott.
Oh wow.
Oh my God.
You got to get warmed up though.
Yeah. No good.
There it is. Oh no, it didn't go.
Overshot.
What do you think? The live number now has dropped to 1,900. Little live number, Joe, 1,750 now. You still in? When's it low enough? Live number just dropped to 1,300.
I'm in.
Live,
buy,
buy. Live number now is 1,250.
Buy it.
Live number now is 1,000. Live number now is 600. Can't go any lower. The book, it's minus 200. Oh wow, jeez. Wow. Wow. Why?
I don't know what to say about that. That was pretty ugly, especially those last few throws. Was like Kevin getting tired or something there at the end? Like, I mean, they weren't that far away. Hey, look, you got to be able to make fun of yourself in those situations. But, you know, that being said, there was clearly no practice round before that. But I give Kevin for give credit for the opportunity. Do we give like a trophy for trying in this spot? I mean, I think most of us feel we may have been able to make one of those passes. Poor Kevin. What is this plane flight back from New Orleans to New Jersey? All right, so we'll start there. We will end, well, not quite end, but we will get to our next story here. Mike Woodson, head coach of Indiana, former coach in the NBA with the Hawks and some other teams too, is on the way out. Not going well for Woodson in Indiana. He is basically going to, according to a lot of published reports, he's going to be out as the head coach there and gets $8 million if he is fired. Indiana is one of the biggest NIL programs in the Big Ten. They should probably get a really big coach. It's been a struggle for them. But needless to say, to not coach and get paid $8 million is pretty awesome. Now, here's what's not pretty awesome. There was a student at the University of Massachusetts who participated in a halftime contest, very similar to what Kevin did there. And this kid fared a lot better. He hit a layup. He hit a free throw. He hit a three-point shot. And then he hit a half-court shot all within the span of a minute and thought that he won $10,000 as a student. But the insurance company reviewed and saw that he had 1 foot on the line, and I believe it was the half-court line, and decided to not pay out this $10,000. This is basically insane, and I would tell you this, a very big missed opportunity, not just for this company, but also for some other company to step up. I guarantee you by the time that we are back here on Monday doing the show, that this young man is going to get paid $10,000 by somebody. I mean, come on. Talk about all the ridiculous things. I wish we could show you the video. It was incredible, literally and by the way, didn't have to take 2 shots to hit any of them. Hit the layup first shot, hit the free throw first shot, hit the three-point first shot, hit the half-court first shot. And then they want to complain and bitch that his foot was on the line in one of these things, and it barely was if it was. Ridiculous. Pay this kid his money. Find a way to do it. Some company will definitely step in and get this done. Thanks again to all of our guests here on the show. In addition, thanks to Andrew DiCecco for coming on, Matt Lutovsky from Sporting News, and Joe Pisapia as well, and Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. For my director, Luke, I'll see you Sunday morning for Fantasy Sports Today. For Frank, I won't see you, but I know you'll be working during the Super Bowl. I'm Craig Mish. Enjoy the big game on Sunday. We'll recap it all for you Monday morning on our next edition of NewsWire. Have a great weekend, everyone.